We are back with another all-star interview. We are talking to seventh place Michael. Mike, are you there?
I'm here.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Let's jump into this. And you definitely were a fun character to watch again, as always.
Thank you.
Never want to disappoint. What do you have to say now about your Survivor All-Star experience? Now that it's been 7 months since you actually did play the game.
It's kind of surprising that it's already been 7 months since
Have you
Survivor.
slept since then? Have you gotten over it?
Yeah, I've slept a lot, and looking back on it, it was a ton of fun. I definitely enjoyed doing it. It had its ups and downs, but it was a good experience, and it's kind of glad, that it's the last one, though, that it's over.
Well, now I heard a rumor that you didn't even watch yourself on the show. Are
I
the
watched
rumors
some of
true?
it. I watched some of it. I watched episodes here and there,
Uh
but I have not seen most of it.
huh. Is there a
I
reason
think
for
I
that? Connor's in the same boat. Connor said he just now is finally at a point where he can watch it now. He's on episode 2 now.
it was never I was at a point where I couldn't watch it. It was just I watched it for a long time, and then around the when we did the tribe switch, I just didn't watch it, and I just never got back to watching it.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's harder to watch when you know everything that happens, so there's
And,
not that
and when you know
suspense.
you're gonna get voted out?
Yeah, well, no, that is not even that. It's just like with CBS Survivor, you don't know what's going to happen, so you can kind of talk about it with friends or speculate what could happen. Where this, you just know what's going to happen, so I don't know. But
Oh,
I have enjoyed what I have watched. I just haven't got back to it.
okay. Let's talk about a couple things. Where do you think your game went wrong? Because it seemed like you were in a pretty good position, and then the merge hit.
I'd say my game went wrong when we tribe switched and I had to vote out Brent because I knew I knew it was either me or him. So I don't regret having to do that at that point. But I knew after that then, it'd be hard to go back to that old tribe and work with them when I just voted out Amanda's significant other. And then at the same time, I knew I had to be loyal to this new tribe because they just saved my
Now, did you know
a
that?
tribe. I said,
Uh huh.
sorry,
No,
go ahead.
did you know that voting out Brent would cause such a an uproar once you got back to Amanda?
Yes, um, and this, I'm not particularly proud of this, but I almost didn't want to talk to Amanda because I knew she would be angry, which she was.
And
And
then
I mean,
that
she,
was part of her complaint too, that you came over and you were somewhat aloof to her and didn't really talk to her.
yeah, well, I mean, because what are you gonna say? I just voted out your boyfriend.
Uh huh.
And it was also at the same time there was so many other things going on that there just wasn't much time. We did talk though. It's not like we never talked during that. We did talk. It just wasn't the best of conversations. So we ended up fighting.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Kyle vote out. Once you got there, Shandy, Martha, and Maggie ended up flipping on you. What do you think happened there? Is there anything else you think you could have done to prevent that?
Kyle getting out.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing I could have really done to prevent it. I had no idea it was going to happen. Even at Tribal Council, they were still acting like they were going with it until after a couple of them voted, and then none of them would look at me.
Hmm.
So I kind of figured something was up. I remember at that time, before the actual votes were being read, but when they were not talking to me or even looking at me, I really thought it was me. So I was very surprised that it wasn't me. Almost kind of wishing it was, but
Well, I was
yeah,
going to say, I don't think we've ever had anyone in the show be so upset for someone else getting voted out. Where
it.
did that reaction come from?
I understand why they did it, and I'm not mad at them for doing it. It was just in the moment, and one thing that really made it bad was just because for me, I don't usually get very angry or upset. So I'm not used to having to handle it, but when I do have to handle it, I like to, kind of just have 5 minutes alone, just to go deal with the anger, and I could go back and be good. But as soon as we got back to tribe or back to camp after tribal, Maggie wanted to talk to me, so I had to spend a long time talking to Maggie and just going over everything. And then as soon as I was done with Maggie, I had to go talk to Darren about everything. And then as soon as I was done talking to Darren, Martha wanted to talk about everything. And then once I was done with Martha, Shandy wanted to talk. So and then Amanda. So it just kept getting brought back up, and I couldn't just like let it go because everyone wanted to talk to me separately about it.
Even after after Kyle got voted off in your last episode, you were one vote away from staying in the game. Do you think there's anything more you could have done to talk to Shandy to keep yourself in the game there?
I did want to talk to Shandy. I did make some attempts, but Amanda would kind of puppy guard her, so I could never get by Shandy to make the talk. But at the same time, I was pretty sure that they had an idol, and I figured that even if I got the numbers at that point for me, they were going to play an idol. I knew my only hope was to win immunity, which did not happen.
Do you think once you guys got to the final seven, you and Amanda both made a pact with each other that you'd be voting for each other to leave? Did that hinder your game at all? Were you missing out on any missed opportunities there?
Yeah, because I think at that point I was very thinking, maybe Sigurd's an option. Or there was another thing where Darren kind of came to me and said, hey, if you go with us and vote out Martha, I think it was Martha, it may have been Maggie, but one of those two, you'll be safe and, no one's going to vote for you. You'll be fine. But but at the same time, I had already made the pact that I was going to vote for Amanda. That I gave my word, and I knew at that point I would just be playing for sixth or fifth place, and that they weren't going to keep me. The only people I had a chance of going far with at that point were Martha and Maggie.
And then I want to talk a little bit more about your relationship with Amanda on the show, um, because it started early on and it carried throughout. What was that like playing the game with Amanda? Someone you obviously knew before the show, and someone who both of you were not afraid to kind of express your feelings about the other person.
Okay, well, first off, I want to say me and Amanda are good friends, so it's not like when we're expressing our feelings that we don't like each other or anything. We're good friends. The thing with Amanda and Brent in particular is, with this kind of Survivor where we all know each other, obviously we're gonna talk before the game, and just kind of like feel everyone out. And when I would talk to Brent and Amanda about it, I always got the impression that they were going to try to get me out early and that they were going to want to try to screw me over because they would always be kind of wishy-washy. And that's actually one thing that made me so close to Kyle is because I knew like I could actually trust him. When we talked about the game, we'd actually talk, we'll have each other's backs, we'll go far. Where with Brent and Amanda, it was like, yeah, we'll see what happens, no promises. And it wasn't actually until 2 days before we went tubing, and Amanda actually just approached me and started talking strategy like, we were going to be in an alliance all along. Before that, I thought that we were going to go in completely against each other just by how they had been reacting to me. So going into the game, I was very happy to see that Amanda was on my tribe and that only Amanda was on my tribe because I feel like, they would have been such a powerhouse if they were together. I would have been just as happy if it was just Brent on my tribe. Um, and we were going pretty good. And then Amanda just started being very likable. Everyone was just a huge fan of her, which was obviously a big threat to me. And I always knew that Brent on the other side, if they made it to merge, that would just be too big of a threat. So there was some cracks forming pretty early on. I don't think that any fighting or any discontent really happened until the merge with the fight that I'm sure made the show.
Yes, it
Um,
did. It did make the show.
yeah, I figured it probably would. Uh, and even that, it wasn't as much that we were, at least for me, it wasn't that we were mad at each other or anything. It was just that we were fighting. I mean, emotions were running high. When you're out there, it's extremely stressful. You're tired, you're hungry, and just emotions are running high. So we fought for that, and then we agreed to vote each other out. But then after the game, we just went back to being good friends. I don't. feel that there was any animosity or anything. So it was just you guys got to see a rare fight for us. I mean, I have not seen Amanda's interviews, so maybe I'm making a
Yeah,
fool
maybe
of
you have to go
myself
back
here.
and watch it and see. There was a viewer submitted a question for you, and the question was about what your plan was going into the merge. We didn't get to see your full plan developed. Were you going to stick with Martha, Maggie, and Shandy? Did you have plans to work with Darren? How did you see the rest of your game shaping up?
I view both of those as options. Ideally, I would have loved to work with Martha and Maggie as long as possible. The only thing is, I didn't want to go into a final four with, me and Kyle as an alliance, and then Martha and Maggie as an alliance. I would have rather only had one of them in the final four. And Darren was a possibility. And I did make a pact with him because I knew Kyle wanted to work with Darren too, and I like Darren. He's a cool kid. But really, I didn't really talk about it that much. But a lot of me also thought of maybe working with Sigrid, just because we had not even really talked to each other, and I figured it would just be a surprise to everyone. No one would see it coming. But that obviously never worked out.
Was Shandy in was she smart for getting you out then?
Yeah, Shandy was. Okay, well, Shandy, when she switched the vote to Kyle, was very smart because I had no intentions of taking her far then. But after that, if I was able to talk to her, this was after the Kyle vote, so this was after the merge and everything, and all those plans fell apart. If I had been able to talk to her, I was actually thinking of taking her, if not final two, then at least final three, because I knew she was kind of close to Martha and Maggie, but I didn't realize how extremely close she was to them. So I figured I saw her more as an outsider, just like me at that point. So I figured we would have been a good team up. But obviously that didn't happen.
Good. The last thing I want to touch on with you is your vote to vote for Shandy in the end. What ultimately swayed you to vote for her over Martha?
That whole tribal council, I'd say after every time someone talked, Shandy or Martha, I changed my mind on who to vote for. It was very close. I think both of them just gave amazing answers to all their questions. The questions I asked them, I absolutely loved their answer. It wasn't necessarily the answer I was expecting, but I actually preferred their answer more than what I thought they were going to give. But what made me vote Shandy, especially when I went into that thinking it was going to be Martha, what made me vote Shandy was her last line where she just basically laid out how she played everyone in the game and how she basically ran the second half of the game. And you just got to reward that. I mean, she did great. She did everything she needed to do, and she stayed likable during the whole thing. I don't think anyone ever was angry at Shandy. So I felt she deserved it.
Good. Are there any other last thoughts you have? Last comments about your time on Survivor All Stars for the viewers
Uh,
who watched you?
I guess thank you everyone for watching. I hope that in my highs and my lows, I was at least entertaining for most of you guys. And thank you, Paul. I know it's been a lot of work for you, but thank you for not only doing Survivor, but you did Montana Mole, you did Montana's Next Top Model. So thank you for all
And
the
I
work you've
and
done.
I put up with you 4 times throughout those seasons, so
Yeah.
I deserve a prize.
Yeah, yeah, okay. You
Well,
did
thank
put up with me a lot, and then you also had to put up with me on production. So congrats
yeah,
to you for displaying amazing patience.
yes. There were some other ones that I'd exercise patience to, but we won't get into that. Um, Good. Well, thank you, Mike, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us.
Thank you.